This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, the Packers placed Elton Jenkins on injury reserve yesterday after he suffered a fractured bone in his lower leg in the loss to Philly. Expected to undergo surgery. Unclear if he'll be able to return this year. Green Bay likely to start Sean Rhyan in his place. Packers getting ready for a trip to face the Giants on Sunday. Turn to the Badgers. They're also on the road at number 2 Indiana. Hoosiers unbeaten and 29.5-point favorites in the game. First time they've been favored over the Badgers since 1993. Kick on Saturday is at 11. As for the Wisconsin basketball team, they beat Ball State by 31 last night. Big night for Nolan Winter. 19 points, 10 rebounds, 5th double-double of his career, 2nd in 3 games this year.
I mean, it's huge for me personally. I'm trying to get as many rebounds as I can for this team. On me as a 7-footer, I know that's kind of my job. So having that mentality of every ball is mine when it's shot, that's kind of my thing this year. So it's what I'm going to carry out through the whole season. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever this team needs, honestly, to win. And through 3 games, we've done a pretty good job of winning so far, so it's keeping that going.
Wisconsin can host SIUE on Monday, and the Bucks are in Charlotte to take on the Hornets. Milwaukee comes in tonight 7-4. Charlotte 3-7.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin student athletes, whether they're a home spotlight. Sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Brewers have the Manager of the Year in the National League once again. That's after it was announced yesterday that Pat Murphy had won the award for a 2nd straight season. He is the only manager in team history to win the award once, much less twice. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil.
Well, I think we need to play clean football. I think that's the first and foremost when you look at it. A lot of self-inflicted just mistakes, whether it's false starts. We had a couple of illegal formations. Every individual's got a responsibility on every play. And if you're not clean if one guy's not clean, they can go to crap. So unfortunately, we haven't been clean enough, I think, consistently enough as an offense, because we've done some decent things. I mean, I look at some of our ability to move the chains on 3rd down has been pretty good. Unfortunately, we've put ourselves in some tough situations over the last 2 weeks where, we just haven't been able to score points.
So I get back to the drawing board, get back to the film session, trying to find ways to figure out what we're not doing as well right now, what's kind of keeping us in a funk, and it always comes back to get back to it next week and get back to work.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
It's a little sound from Matt LaFleur earlier this afternoon. And I had a bunch of things written down. Normally during Bill's show from 10 to 2, I'll start writing down some things that I want to talk about on the show. And, okay, what do we want to start with? What do we want to do in the second hour? And I had a lot of random different things. I'm like, I want to talk Packers, obviously. It's going to fill most of our time tonight. And then last night we learned that Pat Murphy is Manager of the Year for the 2nd straight year. It's like, we should probably talk about that. And I watched the Badger game last night because that was really the only thing going on. There were NBA games. There were other things if you wanted to find other things, but the only Wisconsin team in action last night. So I was watching the Badgers play Ball State. I'm like, oh, Nolan Winter. There's a story there. A lot of writers. Michael McCleary had a story about Nolan Winter last night. Badger Connect. Jesse's got something up today about Nolan Winter. So I want to talk about that. And obviously Packers. And I didn't really know what we were going to start with. Sometimes that's the most difficult part, especially in the middle of the week if there are no big headlines. Like, what are we going to start with? And then I watched Matt LaFleur's presser this afternoon. And I'm like, oh, there's like 5 or 6 things we could start with, any of these 5 or 6 things. So that's what I want to begin with. We're going to react to some of the things that Matt LaFleur said. That comment, first and foremost, just talking about the state of the offense. That's where we'll start. And then as the show progresses, we'll get to some other things. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers, going to be here at about 4:45. And I asked Chuck because it's going to make it sound like I'm calling Chuck old, which I'm not. Chuck is a vibrant, virile young man, but he's been covering the Brewers a long time. And he's interacted with a lot of different managers and a lot of different voices and personalities in that clubhouse and in that dugout. And I kind of just want to talk to Chuck about Pat Murphy, the person and the experience. So is it going to be hard hitting, how much the Brewers are going to spend this offseason, or are they going to get a shortstop? We might get to some of those things. I really just want to talk about Pat Murphy with Freems for the last 10 or 12 minutes of this hour. So that's coming up. And then Jesse Temple to talk about the win over Washington and some basketball items towards the end. Nolan Winter, first and foremost. He's had a really nice run of games here, which I wanted to talk about anyways. So perfect. He'll be here at 5:30 as he is on every Wednesday. And your calls are welcome throughout. 608-321-1670. The live stream up and running, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. I would appreciate a subscription to the YouTube page. Just go ahead, click subscribe. Doesn't take much work from you. It helps me out a little bit. And that Wisco Sports Zone app, a really slick way to watch and listen as well. So I think the most newsworthy item from Matt LaFleur's presser, the most pressing item, is an update on Elton Jenkins' health. And I think that can lead us into a bigger discussion. Excuse me. I'm a little under the weather this week, so I apologize. I want the update for housekeeping purposes on Elton Jenkins. And then that can lead us into a little bit of a larger conversation about the O-line. But here is Matt LaFleur, and I believe it was Steve McGargy asked about Elton Jenkins, his availability for the rest of the year, and then the subsequent plan of what they're going to do at center.
What's the likelihood that Elton returns at some point this season? Is the season over?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'd say it's highly unlikely. It's a shame because, he was one of the first guys we drafted when I got here, and just been through a lot with him, and more obviously a lot of great moments. And it's a shame because he's one of our real leaders on our team.
Would you think of what Sean did at center, and is he going to start there moving forward?
Yeah, he'll start there. I thought he did a pretty good job.
I thought he did good too. Set that to the side. I don't want to talk about the Sean Ryan of it all right now. Maybe later tonight, or maybe as the week goes along. I gave you a couple thoughts on that last night, but set Sean Ryan to the side. I just want to talk about Elton Jenkins. So he's probably going to miss the rest of the year. He went on injured reserve last night. I wasn't really sure what the prognosis would be because we heard that he had a fracture in his leg, but that could be ankle. Could that be foot? I just didn't know. A small fracture doesn't necessarily mean his season is over, but then it must be significant. If Matt LaFleur is ruling out it's highly unlikely that he's back, it must be some sort of a significant fracture. I'm surprised this follow-up was asked. Not because I feel any certain way about the Packers beat or I have certain expectations of what they're willing to ask. I just wouldn't have thought this was a big part of the story today, but I'm glad someone asked it because it's actually what I want to talk about. Here's a follow-up on how Elton Jenkins played at center this year.
I know it was only half a season with Elton, but did you see enough to think that he is a center long-term, or is that all up for discussion in the offseason?
Yeah, I think he did a really good job. And I think the more he played, the more comfortable he got within that position. And like I said, it's an unfortunate deal.
Now, I don't know what the numbers would say. I don't have a PFF subscription, and I can't look at the rankings. I don't know where he ranks. I don't know where he grades. I was very disappointed with Elton Jenkins, the center, in 2025. Albeit for half a season, he might have really turned it on down the stretch. Who knows? We'll never know because now he looks, like he's going to miss the rest of the season. As Matt LaFleur said, it's highly unlikely that he'll be back. I was very disappointed in the Elton Jenkins center experience. And a lot of Packers fans over the last week or two, maybe it's too far to say it's revisionist history, but a lot of Packers fans over the last week or two have started saying things like, well, I don't know why they ever moved him over there. They weakened 2 spots. They should have just kept Josh Myers or gotten a different center and kept Elton Jenkins at left guard where he's best. And then they wouldn't have had to pay Aaron Banks. Okay, so a lot of people now looking back and saying, well, why did they ever do this? Why did they ever move Elton Jenkins to center? Which I think is letting Elton Jenkins off the hook. He should have been more than capable of kicking inside and playing center at a more consistent level than we saw. I was really disappointed in what the Packers got, albeit in half a season again, from Elton Jenkins at center. The offseason began with him getting the cops called at a strip club. Whatever. Maybe it wasn't his fault. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe the club was taking advantage of Elton and the group he was with. Whatever. It's just noteworthy. That's how the offseason began. And then he had a back injury and missed time. And I think it was also clear, and I'd have to go back and dig up the reporting, that he wasn't happy with his contract and that he was looking for some sort of an extension. Well, if you're going to move me, I want more money. And he missed mostly all. He wasn't present at offseason activities, at OTAs, the voluntary stuff, to be fair. But hey, man, like, you're switching positions. This is supposed to be a Super Bowl team. Maybe I'd like to have you there. Whatever. Again, not the end of the world, just something that I'm noting. Missed most of training camp with Jordan Love. Pretty important, a pretty important period of time between a new center and a quarterback. You're getting that exchange. You're getting that cadence down. I was just very underwhelmed with the way that the offseason went for Elgton Jenkins. And then we got into the season. It's like, I don't know that you're fully locked in. I don't know that you were fully ready for this when the season started. And for an offensive line that faced a lot of upheaval early with an injury to Zach Tom and Rasheed Walker, I remember leaving during that Cleveland game. Jordan Morgan and Sean Ryan rotating. Aaron Banks missed time. So Anthony Belton's playing a little bit. I just would have hoped for a little bit better from the veteran. I would have hoped for a little bit more stabilization from the veteran, from the guy who's been there, guy you should be able to count on. I'm not trying to throw dirt on Elgton Jenkins now that his season is done, and you could make the case that his Packers career is probably done as well. I was just very underwhelmed and disappointed with what they got from him. And I'm not really willing to throw that on Brian Gutekunst and the Packers. Elgton Jenkins should have been more than capable of kicking inside and playing a good center, allowing them to shuffle guys around and allowing them to deal with some early season, machinations due to injury, or they're trying to figure out who their best five are at certain positions. I would have liked to have been able to count a little bit more on Elgton Jenkins at center. And I'm not discounting the possibility at all, based on what we saw on Sunday, that Sean Ryan is just going to be better the rest of the year. And that opens some interesting doors for Sean Ryan and his possible future with the Packers. Again, that can be later on. We can cover that at a different time. But listening to Matt LaFleur talk about Elgton Jenkins, his season probably being over, and saying, I thought he did a good job. I don't think he did a good job at all. And I don't know what the rankings would tell you or the grades, and I'm not going to watch the old 22, but just watching from 10,000 feet and getting an idea of how this offensive line was operating and where they were weak, I was left wanting a lot more from Elgton Jenkins. And I think it's a little unfair to now throw back at the Packers and say, well, they should have just kept Josh Myers. Really? Elgton Jenkins should have been more than capable of kicking inside to center and playing a little bit better than he did this year. And had he played a little bit better, maybe they win the Browns game. You know what I mean? Maybe they have an extra win to their name, and the season all of a sudden feels a little bit different after a close, ugly, but hard-fought loss against the team that just won the Super Bowl, and we're coming off a bye week on Monday Night Football. Another little bit of housekeeping that we should probably discuss. Matt LaFleur asked about, have you settled on a kicker? Is that still a competitive situation, as Matt LaFleur said last week, or have you settled on your kicker moving forward?
No, we're confident with Brandon.
What gives you that confidence? Because he's last in the league for field goal percentage.
By the way, excellent follow-up, because that's a question that needs to be asked. Okay, you're confident with Brandon. Can you please help us understand, because he's the least accurate kicker in football through 10 games.
He's last in the league for field goal percentage.
Thank you.
I think some of those situations were like the other night. That's a tough situation to be in. I would say the day-to-day that we experience and watch and evaluate across the street. So we're going to put more stock into the practice. And then, ultimately you have to go out there and perform on game day.
I'm just going to replay that final 10 seconds.
We're going to put more stock into the practice. And then, ultimately you have to go out there and perform on game day.
So basically they're going off what they've seen at practice. Look, this is such an effed up situation. I don't envy Matt LaFleur for having to deal with this, because your kicker gets hurt, and it's a kicker with a long-standing body of work. Brendan McManus has shown that he can be an effective kicker and has been for a long time in multiple spots. So he is a player that gets the benefit of the doubt. He gets hurt, and the other guy comes in and is awesome. And he's basically a no-name guy who hasn't earned the benefit of the doubt or hasn't earned long-term belief, even if he kicks well for a couple of weeks. And now your other guy comes back and misses a couple, and you're dealing with it. This is not an easy situation for a coach. And I'll even go so far as to say Matt LaFleur could very well make the right choice, and it might just not work, because kicking is weird. So I don't envy Matt LaFleur. This is not an easy situation. However, for a kicker who has been piss poor outside of the red zone, in a current NFL, by the way, where kicking has never been easier, kickers have never been this effective at this long of range, because they get to doctor the ball, they get their special kicker balls, whatever. Like, we are living in a golden era of kickers in the NFL, and you have the worst one in terms of kicking efficiency, or just the straight up numbers. How many have you kicked? How many have you made? He's basically the worst guy in the NFL, and that's why I really appreciated that follow-up. Like, that needs to be asked.
Because he's last in the league for field goal percentage.
I'm glad that was asked. So explain it to us. The explanation of, well, we see it in practice. Okay. Maybe in week 10 that'll fly. If he misses a couple of kicks or he misses another kick that he shouldn't miss in New York on Sunday, I'm going to stop accepting the answer of, well, we see it in practice.
We're going to put more stock into the practice.
I don't know why you'd put more stock into the practice than the games. I don't understand that. I fully realize that this is a very difficult situation, and it's a little bit like a baseball manager just playing the numbers or going on a gut feeling, and maybe it works, maybe it won't. Sometimes them's the breaks. I just don't. I'm not sure that I buy this.
We're going to put more stock into the practice, and then ultimately you have to go out there and perform on game day.
Ultimately, that's the point. That's why we're asking. That's the point. He's been the worst kicker in football.
He's last in the league for field goal percentage.
Correct. Yeah. One last Matt LaFleur housekeeping item. Will he be giving a play calling? It was asked kind of by Jason Wilde.
Matt, you always say it begins with me, right? First of all, you're not going to give up play calling, I assume?
No.
I'm not suggesting you should.
Okay. Well, the question was asked. Kind of. Okay. So your thoughts on any of that? Elton Jenkins, the center position moving forward, the kicker situation, or Matt LaFleur as a play caller? I don't think he should give up play calling. Probably needs to be asked. Some kind of way of asking it. I'm not trying to dump on Jason Wilde.
I'm not suggesting you should.
Okay. Well, then I guess why ask?
Matt, you always say it begins with me, right? First of all, you're not going to give up play calling, I assume?
Okay. Well, it was asked, so we can discuss that as well. We'll take a 3-minute break. Your calls on the other side to talk Packers. Anything that Matt LaFleur just covered, 608-321-1670. I'll get you right on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Matt, you always say it begins with me, right? First of all, you're not going to give up play calling, I assume?
No.
I'm not suggesting you should.
Jason Wilde asking the tough question to Matt LaFleur earlier today. We're picking over his press conference, some things about Elton Jenkins, some things about kicker, and Matt LaFleur's play calling role, which will remain unchanged. He also talked about the moment using the tablet, which I thought was kind of interesting. We can get to that. We're going to talk Brewers, Pat Murphy with Chuck Freimund, the last segment of this hour, and Jesse Temple will be here at 5:30. But your Packers calls in the meantime, 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Graham, it's Ed.
Hey, Ed, what's going on? What's up, bro? It's been a while.
Long time. It has. I lay low sometimes. I'm busy work. So,
good for you.
But I do listen. I got some time. I've been underwhelmed with this whole offensive line all year, and it's kind of sad. We feel like we're doing Groundhog Day all over again. Rodgers didn't have a good line. Favre didn't have a good line at times. Just what if we would have had a better line and give them protection or create a running game consistently? And that's the problem now. We may have a problem with the running game for the rest of the year. That we're set up for passing, but that doesn't look good either, does it?
Well, no, because teams don't have to load the box to stop the run. They can stop the run with their normal front and then drop back and prevent the big plays.
They call that soft shell. Is that what that's called when they kind of go back?
I like calling it no doubles defense because that's separate of like cover two, quarters, whatever. They're just sitting back. They're preventing big plays. Think of it that way.
Exactly. And, just woulda, coulda, shoulda, that last drive when they were going down the field to kick that 65-yard field goal, if just a couple things could have gone their way where he led Watson further to the, out towards the, that could have been a difference. And if maybe he and his running back could have been on a better same page, he's going one way and the ball's going the other. It's it's really hard. It's hard to watch and listen to Matt LaFleur trying to, I don't know, it's like putting a Band-Aid on a wound that's just never going to go away. And you can't paint this any better than you can. And you don't candy coat it. You're spot on. I love every take you're bringing out. I don't know.
Well, thank you, Adam.
I'm not about firing coaches and stuff, but man, I got to tell you, he's got to be on the hot seat. Has to be.
Yeah, I think he should. I think he's feeling some pressure. Yeah, I mean, he's already coaching for a contract. That's a good call. Nice to hear from you. I don't want Matt LaFleur fired. It's week 10. It's November 12th. They have 5 division games remaining. If they get hot, they could still win this division and have a home playoff game. Now, whether you think that's going to happen, that's a second thing. But let's not act like the season is halfway down the tubes and the only thing that's left to do is pull the emergency cord and make Jeff Hafley the head coach. I want Matt LaFleur to be better. I want him to find some things to help spark this offense. And it's not just Matt LaFleur. I think Packers fans, and I fall into this trap too, yell about play calling, Matt LaFleur, because that just helps us put all of our discontent on one person, and we don't have to confront the idea that maybe the quarterback hasn't been good enough, or maybe the roster isn't good enough, or maybe these young wide receivers who we all love aren't getting better or aren't playing well enough, right? Matt LaFleur is the head coach and in charge of it all. And I think schematically, in the biggest of big picture, again, it's been shown over the last 6 weeks, defenses have kind of got a beat on you, man. They know what to do. And I haven't really seen a counterpunch yet. I think we saw signs of it against Philly, to give Matt LaFleur credit. Let's try Bo Melton. Instead of Savion Williams, instead of Malik Heath, let's try Bo Melton. And what happened? Bo Melton drops a crucial 4th down pass. Now, is that on Matt LaFleur for putting him out there? Or is that Matt LaFleur trying to push a button, trying to make a change, and not being rewarded when he puts Bo Melton in the perfect spot? You know what I mean? That's a matter of perspective, I suppose. And it is probably dependent on how you view Matt LaFleur. If you think he's a bonehead and an idiot, you think, well, why would he ever put Bo Melton out there? He's not even a full-time wide receiver anymore. Whereas I'd like to think if you think a little bit more objectively, you'd say, well, there's a change that Matt LaFleur tried to make. And then Bo Melton drops the pass that hits him right in the chest. They went to a six-man O-line. They throw Kennard out there. I thought that worked pretty darn well. It seemed like towards the end of the game, once Sean Ryan kicks to center and they have an extra lineman out there, I thought they protected better and had better downfield opportunities. What happened? They get an illegal formation penalty because a wide receiver is covering up that O-lineman. Again, if you think Matt LaFleur is an idiot and a bonehead and needs to go, you would say, well, of course, because they don't usually play man O-lines. So that wide receiver hasn't had a chance to practice and hasn't had a chance. If you hate Matt LaFleur, maybe that's how you see it. Or if you, I would like to think are a little bit more objective, and I'm not even saying me, I'm smarter than everyone. I'm saying if you just take a step back, that's Matt LaFleur trying to find an answer. That's him trying to push a button, and it didn't work. Does that mean that he shouldn't try to push the button or shouldn't try to make that adjustment? Again, that's a matter of perspective and is probably based on how you feel about Matt LaFleur. Here's Ross Tucker, 30 seconds of Ross Tucker from Bill's show earlier today, talking about how this Packers offense is basically just a bunch of different guys taking turns making different mistakes.
It feels like, they start to move it, they start to have some success, and then there's a penalty. Like it's 4th and 1 and Aaron Banks false start. Or you're in Eagles territory and Jordan Love has a bad turnover, with the fumble. I mean, those are just things that can't happen, shouldn't happen, and it's really, really hard to sustain offense in the NFL now if you're going to make mistakes like that, and it feels like they do that too often right now.
So you want to hear an interesting Q&A? Ryan Wood asked Matt LaFleur earlier today when Matt LaFleur said, look, we're just making penalties that are killing our drives, a drop or an illegal formation. Ryan Wood then jumps in and asks this question. I think it's a good thing. Well, Matt, are those things being taught during the week? That's on coaching, right? To teach wide receivers how to receive the ball, to teach them how to line up. Is that something that's being dealt with Monday through Friday? I thought this was a good follow-up and answer from Ryan Wood.
Those are things that are taught, right? Don't cover up the tight end, the snap count. Those are messages that you give to the players. Is it just not getting through, or why do you think that you continue to see that?
And by the way, I know this is an audio medium. Matt LaFleur kind of smirks when the question's being asked, for whatever that's worth, because it's a targeted question. It's like, basically Ryan Wood is asking, well, Matt, isn't it your job to fix some of these issues? Why aren't they getting fixed?
Well, I think there was 2 instances, right? And I would put the one, put the first one on myself on when Kennard was in there at tight end, a position he hasn't been, very often. And then the other one is in 2-minute, and that's where we have to have guys that are clearly communicating with one another. I mean, I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
This is not, well, and by the way, that comment at the end is not nothing.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
To me, that's Matt LaFleur saying, look, these guys have played enough football. You want me to hold their hand? They should be able to figure this stuff out.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
That's what that reads to me. That's Matt LaFleur saying, well, look, yeah, the 2-minute, maybe I need to communicate better, and Kennard's playing tight end. Maybe that's something that's a little bit unconventional for him, but these guys aren't children. They're professional football players who have all played a good amount of ball. That shouldn't be happening.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
That last little remark caught my ear, and it's a good question from Ryan Wood. I also don't trust this team as far as I can throw them in the 2-minute. Anytime the Packers offense gets the ball with like 2:15, 2:20 left in the half or in the game, I'm like, oh boy, because I can just see those wheels spinning in Matt LaFleur's brain where it's like, well, we should be in our 2-minute offense, but there's more than 2 minutes left. And I go back to that Cowboys game in overtime where they let so much clock run. And Matt LaFleur was asked about it after the game. And he said, well, remember when we started the drive, there were like 3 or 4 minutes left. I don't remember how long it was. So we weren't in our 2-minute. And I remember hearing that. And I'm like, yeah, but Matt, you know how clocks work, man. At a certain point on the drive, the time is going to get beneath 2 minutes. You need to know that even if the drive starts at 4 minutes, once it gets beneath 2 minutes, like you need to up your pace, right? You do understand that. You do get that. I don't see a lot of urgency. I don't see a lot of communication. The 4th and 2 play, the inside zone run to Josh Jacobs, I almost fully and completely and totally put that on Jordan Love. We took a bunch of calls on Bill's show earlier today where it's like, Matt LaFleur needs to audible out of that. Matt LaFleur is on the sideline Jordan Love is looking across the line of scrimmage and hearing defensive players yell out the play call. And I'm supposed to put that on Matt LaFleur? He's on the sideline. Jordan Love is the one at the line of scrimmage hearing this and watching it go down. He can go to a run pass option. He could completely audible out of the play or just take a timeout, which wouldn't have been my preferred option because I would have liked to keep those timeouts. Like, you're trying to go down and score a touchdown and win. I don't like burning timeouts if you don't have to, but it's still preferable to running a play that the entire defense knows is coming. So no, that's not on Matt LaFleur to me. Again, these guys have played enough football.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
That to me is Matt LaFleur saying, these guys got to figure it out. I can only drill this stuff into their head so much Monday through Friday, and I can only do so much from the sideline. Like, these guys have to be better.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
That's how that read to me. That sounded like a very polite way of saying, these guys are big boys. They can't keep making mistakes like this. And there's only so much I can do. That's how I read that. Coyote Mike says, Grant, whose idea was it to play musical chairs with the offensive line? Brian Gutekunst or Matt LaFleur or Stenovich and or Butkus? All four or who else? Either way, they must have all agreed to it, right? And the players too. Well, they have a history the last couple of years of rotating. And I get that. I don't mind them rotating a right guard if everything else is stable. Like, if you have your healthy center, your healthy left guard, your healthy left tackle, and your healthy right tackle, and you have your best five out there, and you want to rotate one position because you like both guys, that's fine with me. I like the rotation a little bit less when there's chaos everywhere else, because it makes it really hard to build continuity. And we talked about this for weeks. This O-line just needs a chance to play together. We just don't have enough reps, too many injuries. Just need to build that continuity. Well, it's harder to do that when you're changing guys out every other drive. So I think there's a time and a place for a rotation. I don't think it will be as big of an issue now because now Sean Ryan is your full-time center. So you can't rotate him with Jordan Morgan because both are going to be needed to start, which I'm a little bit more worried about Jordan Morgan starting full-time than Sean Ryan. I think Sean Ryan will be a good center. I think there's a chance he'll be even better than Elton Jenkins. I said at the beginning of the show, I was really underwhelmed with the job that he did this year. TK on Wisconsin's West Coast. Legitimately, Matt LaFleur doesn't have the creativity. He doesn't have the creativity if he just allows technology to help him. We always talk about data and analytics in baseball, so why don't we ever talk about modern technology and how it can be used in football? I'm sure AI can create the best use of our play. I'm not interested. Not interested in AI, TK. Technology and stats and ratings and all that stuff and data, great. Not interested in AI. And if they're doing that, they can do that on their own time behind closed doors. I don't want to hear about it. We'll take a break. Chuck Freimund in about 15 minutes, talk about Pat Murphy and some of his experiences now covering the two-time Manager of the Year. And remember Jesse Temple in hour number 2 as well. But more of your Packers thoughts on the other side if you're interested. 608-321-1670.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
I've done that since I've been here. Similar things. It just happened to be that I was taking the tablet back and wanted to write something down, and I felt that whatever that cart was or whatever was a good desk. So I wrote some things down and kept it moving.
It's Matt LaFleur today. He was asked about using his tablet, which sometimes there's things like, there's a couple of things going on in the Packers world right now that I don't really have a strong opinion on, but I'm really enjoying watching other people share their opinions on it. Matt LaFleur using the tablet on the sideline is something I don't care about. And he's right. He's been doing that for a long time. Bill and Clemens have been pointing it out for months, that when the offense isn't on the field, he's with the tablet, he's working on stuff. So I think a lot of people just saw it or noticed it for the first time because it happened on Monday Night Football. I don't care. But I am interested when people get bent out of shape about it one way or another. I'm here for the takes. I'm here for the content. I'm also interested in this picture that keeps circulating of a bunch of the Packers beat members having beers with Matt LaFleur that keeps popping up. And people keep throwing it around as this reason why, the Packers beat is soft. They're all buddy-buddy with Matt LaFleur. I don't care that they had beers with Matt LaFleur at all. But I find it kind of an entertaining point of discussion. And if people are going to see that picture and say, well, how can you be objective if you're hanging out with them? I'm not going to tell those people that they're nuts. That's a worthwhile opinion. Just like if you think Matt LaFleur shouldn't be dicking around on his Surface Pro and his team is out on the field, fine opinion. I just don't have an opinion on either of those things. But I'm really enjoying both of the storylines. 608-321-1670. Chuck Freimund in about 10 minutes, but a couple more minutes on the Packers in the meantime. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant Bills. How we looking?
Cone?
This is Cone. I'm on the I-10 driving back from LA to Phoenix. Business trip and battling neurovirus, kind of in my Jordan flu game era. Closed a couple deals, crapping my pants out.
Well, are there rest stops on the 10? Are rest stops a thing out in the West?
They are, but for some reason, God bless the state of California, they're all closed.
Of course. Well, the government shutdown, maybe. Who knows? Who's going to clean those things? Who's going to keep them up?
True.
All right, what's going on? What do you think?
Didn't get a chance to call in after that Monday night game, but if we're cooking up some blame pie, I gotta put 30% on Jordan Love, 50% on Matt LaFleur, 10% Brandon McManus, and 10% Pepto-Bismol, because that's all I've been having this week.
I would go 50-30 Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love as well. I think Jordan Love is a big boy, and he should be able to overcome a couple of these things in a way that maybe he hasn't. But Matt LaFleur is the head coach, and it seems like opposing defenses have figured him out, and they know how to play against him. And I haven't really seen a good counterpunch now in about a month and a half, and that starts with him.
Yep. Amen. And wanted to ask you, does the 5 division games remaining make you more optimistic or pessimistic about how this season can go?
Great question. And Cone, I'm going to let you go, but stay tuned. We're going to talk Nolan Winter in hour number 2, which I know you're going to be a fan of.
Let's go. And I just got to say, the Wisco Sports Zone app, great Apple Car interface. Love it.
Excellent. That makes me very happy to hear. Hell yeah, Cone. Okay. Nolan Winter in hour 2. We'll get there. I don't know that it makes me more or less optimistic because I don't have a good read on this team. What I will say, and I mentioned this as a quote unquote, a point of optimism yesterday, Packers fans, if you still think this is a good team and you still think they're elite and you think they're a contender, then everything is in front of them, sometimes you hear that and you don't like it. Aaron Boone's been saying that for 4 years. It's right in front of us. Like sometimes that's what you say when you just aren't very good. If you think this Packers team is still really good and you think they have yet to play their best ball, well then great, game on. We're about to have a November and a December because they control their own destiny. If you think they stink and you don't think they're going to play any better than this, well then the schedule is kind of a massive obstacle. Because they won't be favored in Detroit. Minnesota and Chicago on the road will both be tricky. If this is the true Packers team, if this is the team that they are, those games will be tricky. I think I lean a little bit more optimistic, and I'm excited to see if Matt LaFleur can turn this thing around and Jordan Love can heat it up a little bit. Like, I don't know that that's optimism. I'm just excited to see what this team is capable of. And if they're not capable of it, okay, well, then we'll talk about that thing. So I guess I would lean optimistic, but I don't really have a lean. It could be either or. I'm fascinated to see which it is. All right, 2 calls here, and then we're going to get to Chuck. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
I'm Tony from Sussex.
Hey, Tony. Welcome back.
And I've been listening off and on all afternoon. So on the Packers. So what I think is you cure the line, you'll see a big difference in the running game. You'll see a big difference in the passing game. They'll be able to do things they want to do. Defenses know their line's not good, and they're playing off of that. And our defense to me is just fine. I mean, they're a Super Bowl defense. In other words, we could go to the Super Bowl on that defense. We just got to get that offensive line. You could bring Vince Lombardi down, and he wouldn't be able to do anything either. They got to fix that line that's killing our team. And then again, Jordan Love's got to open his eyes when he sees guys in the flat. He's got to start scanning that field better. But I mean, that offensive line is the crux of the whole thing. And everybody talking about, replacing Matt LaFleur, is he on the hot seat? To me, that's ridiculous. That's my opinion. Have a great day. I love your show.
Thank you, Tony. I appreciate the call. Fixing the line, yeah, cures a lot of things. I don't know that they're capable of doing it in the season. Now, maybe Sean Ryan's great. Zach Tom gets healthier. I could see it. Jordan Morgan really comes into his own as a pro now in year 2. Possibly. It's hard, though. It's hard to see it. It's very hard to see it. And I think Jordan Love not seeing guys in the flat, like you said, Tony, missing guys, I think he got some happy feet on Sunday. He didn't trust his protection, and he didn't see things correctly. We have literally 60 seconds. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
It's Chad from South Prairie, Grant.
Hey, Chad, what's up?
We talk quick. You're right. I was actually going to talk about that. The fact that, you're not going to fix the line with Elton Jenkins breaking his ankle. But personally, I don't believe it was great before. I would think that moving him to center was a mistake.
You don't think it was a mistake, or you think it was a mistake?
No, I think it was a huge mistake. I think they made their line worse. Even though he's a great player, I think they made it worse putting him there than just leaving him at guard and putting somebody else in at center.
I don't think he held up his end of the bargain. I think this is more of an Elton Jenkins thing than a Packers thing, personally. I was really underwhelmed with how he played.
And is that because he was so mad about having to play center? I don't know. Or he just isn't capable of doing it? I don't know. Again,
I don't want to question his heart or his dedication. I'm sorry, Chad. I got to go because I want to make sure we have enough time for Chuck. I'm not going to. I don't know. He wasn't at OTAs. And then he wasn't happy about his contract. And then he had a back injury. Okay, let's say it was a back injury and it wasn't a contract thing. I was just very underwhelmed. And to say now that the Packers never should have done that, they never should have let go of Josh Myers. Josh Myers sucked. So I don't know. I think to me, that's letting Elton Jenkins off the hook because I expected better. I expected a lot better from far and away the most veteran member of their O-line. Chuck Freimund going to join us next to talk about the 2025 Manager of the Year, Pat Murphy. We'll wrap up hour number 1 with that.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Last couple of minutes, hour number 1. Jesse Temple will be here at 5:35. Talk about that win over Washington. And I want to talk a little bit about Nolan Winter, too. nice little run here. That was my takeaway watching last night against Ball State. And then always feels nice. I saw Mike McCleary ran a Nolan Winter story. Jesse's got one up at Badger Connect too. So I was like, all right, so I'm barking up the right Badgers tree here. We'll talk Nolan Winter and a little bit of Badgers basketball with Jesse as well. Right now, to talk about the back-to-back Manager of the Year, Pat Murphy, Chuck Freimund is here. Locked On Brewers. Chuck, you've been covering the Brewers a long time. Can you name, by the way, all of the managers that you've covered over the years?
Oh,
oh, Chuck, your connection might stink.
George Banner, and then he took over.
Chuck, I'm gonna text you. Can you call? Hold on one sec. I'm gonna have Chuck call in. Just because that doesn't sound like it's gonna get better. Can you call 608? Well, I'm gonna give him the hotline number, which I will not read out loud. I don't need any of you having that number. Your connection stinks. He was rattling off. He was rattling off all of the names. That's a bummer. We'll get Chuck on here in a sec. Hopefully. Maybe he's like, no, I only do video. This face needs to be shown on the silver screen. So crap. We'll get Chuck on. I thought maybe we could get him on video, but I don't think his connection is good enough. Chuck Freimund, Locked On Brewers. Chuck, your connection just wasn't very good. You can list all of the managers and the skippers that you've covered in your time in Milwaukee?
Oh, sure. God, I was so proud of myself. I just listed them all, and then I was talking to nobody.
Yeah, well, you got a clean run through, but I'll give you credit for doing it correctly the first time, even though we couldn't hear it.
Yes, I did. And yeah, a lot of losing in there, Grant. A lot of losing.
So compare Pat Murphy, with any of the skippers that you've covered. I just found myself last night watching clips, going back through the season through some of the Pat Murphy moments. And I'm like, man, as someone who I don't even cover the team, but we play the press conference clips and we react to what he says. Like, not to sound like a fanboy, we're just pretty lucky to have a dude that's interesting. He just gives us so much.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of Harvey Keene. Now, Harvey looked about 10 years older than Murphy, but he was actually 10 years younger.
Yeah.
The old situation where people back then looked a little older than their age really are compared to today. But yeah, Murphy was a little bit of Harvey Keene, and I'm going to tell him that eventually. And I hope he knows who Harvey Keene is. But I would think But Harvey Keene, who managed the 82 Brewers and 83 Brewers, and since he didn't go to the playoffs in 83, he got fired at the end of 83. But we are lucky to have Murph, good manager. It's just, the stories that come out on him. There was a terrific article in the USA Today regarding how, Murph's been married 3 times, and he's got kids ranging from 6 to 39. And, the more he told his story, I was like, man, I can relate to this guy.
Yeah, he would fit in well in radio. Let's say that he would make a very good sports radio host. What are some of the, whether it's off the field or some of the baseball things, what are some of the things that are completely and totally unique to Murph compared to other guys you've covered?
Well, he's generally interested in getting to know, like, the names of the media guys who cover him. And, one thing he'll do, which is, it gets kind of old now, whenever there's a press conference, he'll ask, if he looks around the room, if he doesn't recognize a face, he'll say, "What's your name over there?" It could be a cameraman. It could be a maintenance man.
Mm-hmm.
He'll ask everybody their name. And I think that's just kind of cool, unnecessary, but it's better than us being faceless, nameless people to the manager, which most of us usually are to the coach or manager. Let's face it, Grant. They could care less about us.
Yeah. And I know Kurt was sharing that clip of when he was just talking to Jack Stern about his sport coat. And then there was another reporter in the room who's giving fashion advice, and Murph is facilitating this. I was talking with Kurt about this a little bit earlier today, like the difference in content, the quotes, the stories, because baseball, I mean, it's a sport that's more rooted in stories and traditions and names and legends, maybe than some other sports, right, Chuck?
Oh, yeah. Oh, of course. I mean, all sports have got a certain amount of history, but, Murph will bring up some names and all that out of the past, and he doesn't drink alcohol. And I read where since he doesn't drink alcohol, he talked about how his good friend Bob Welch, the former Dodger and Oakland A's pitcher, passed away at an early age because of alcohol abuse. And he's got just relatable stories that he'll talk to. It's funny when when he first started bringing his little kids up to press, you see his little kids up there in the press conference. And immediately I thought, well, those are his grandkids.
Yeah.
He's got a daughter who's
I think a lot of
39.
people thought that, yeah.
Yeah, I said, well, he's got his grandkids up there, and it was his kids. And it's like 11 o'clock at night. He's got a 6-year-old up there, which I think is pretty cool because I would probably get crushed from my ex-wife if I did that. But he is such a relatable guy, much like Harvey Keene was, and maybe to a certain extent George Bamberger. I know I'm going back to the 80s here, but those were two very likable people by people in Wisconsin. People relate to that blue collar, hard nosed kind of guy. He's kind of he's a boxer, but he kind of coaches these guys like a college coach, or even like a football coach, a college football coach.
Do you think that helped them turn the season around? Do you think Murphy's way of being helped them turn the season around after a slow start? Did you see that impact this season?
Oh, and I think he changed a little bit too, Grant, because you remember early in the season, a couple of guys missed cutoff throws like Sal Frelick, and he benched these guys. And then he realized in June or in May, probably was late May, that, maybe that's not the way to go. So credit him for, being the tough guy that he is. He kind of adjusted. And sometimes coaches do that. They reinvent themselves and realize, well, I can't be benching guys for just missing a cutoff guy. This isn't, 1967 anymore. So he did that. And I think it worked. Whatever he's doing, it works for this team. Now, could it work for every team in baseball? No, but the Brewers got a younger team. And with a younger team, you're able to do certain things that you might not be able to do, let's say, with that Dodger roster.
Yeah. And it's probably going to stay young. That's the way that they operate, right? Let's talk about a little bit of the offseason before I let you go. And we have until the top of the hour here. Do you think Freddie Peralta will be on the team next year?
I do. I really do. I feel like they're going to try to run it back. I think in the past years they would trade a guy like that. But I feel like this year, because the top of that rotation might be a little uncertain because we don't know about Woodruff. And I think Freddie is going to come back and anchor the top of that rotation. I think they're going to run it back with him one more year. Or if they're out, but this too, Grant, let's say if they're out of the race, let's say they get off to a terrible start and they can't recover, by July 31st, you could deal them then. Yeah. I think that's the way they're looking at that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, the value's too good for what he's giving you, $8 million. It's not like he's making 20. You know what I mean? Like, that's a really good value even for a team like the Brewers. Do you think they'll spend some money this offseason? Unfair question, probably impossible to answer, but where do you stand on their investment? Let's wrap up with that.
Well, they're going to have some money here to invest. Well, I would think yes. Now, either by acquisition, let's say they trade Freddie Peralta and they take on some cash, that could be the case. They're not making a play for Bichette or any of those other, and certainly they're not going to pay for a pitcher. But here's what I think the route they'll do, as they did last year. If someone falls in their lap, 2 years ago, Rhys Hoskins, the price came down a little bit and he fell in their lap. Last year, Quintana fell in their lap at $4 million and it worked out. I think that's the game they're going to play. Right now, you're buying high. And I feel like once you get towards spring training and some of these guys, Grant, are looking for a job, that's when the prices start to drop.
Yeah, everyone has the stomach to hold out and wait for that money until it's February. Sure. And now I need a team to play for. Well, we'll talk to you throughout the offseason if there's any news, Chuck. Thank you for joining us. Sorry we couldn't get you on the stream, but thanks for giving me a call and talking a little bit about Murph.
Grant, I feel like I made it in the broadcast business. I finally made your show. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chuck. Have an awesome one. I appreciate it. Talk soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Chuck Freimund, Locked on Brewers podcast. He would make a good radio guy. My ex-wife would kill me if I did that. I love Chuck so much. He's on Bill's show every Tuesday throughout the season. And Bill just has more time. He's got 4 hours every day. So it just gives us a little bit of an opportunity to get more guests on with him than sometimes with me. But I'm like, we should talk to Freems tonight about Pat Murphy, but he's got some good stories and good history always from a long career of covering a lot of different Brewer games. So we're appreciative of him. We'll do a hard reset after the top of the hour here. We'll get a 2-minute update from Zach Heilprin. We'll come back. If you have any Packers thoughts, we can continue with that. I'll reset with some housekeeping items and things that Matt LaFleur had to say. And then we can talk some Badgers as well. Hour number 2 next. Don't go anywhere.
This is a Wisconsin Sports Zone update.
Well, it's back to work today for the Packers as they started to begin prepping for Sunday's trip to face the Giants. Biggest focus going to be on an offense that has scored just 20 points over its last two games, both losses. Plenty of focus has been on the job of head coach Matt LaFleur, his team's play caller, and in the team's 3 losses, they've averaged just 10 points per game. It's led to some questioning the future of LaFleur, whose contract runs through next season. He understands the nature of the league, but says it's not where his mind is at.
I'll leave that for everybody else to decide. I'll just focus on the day-to-day and trying to do – I feel like you're always coaching for everything in this league, you know? That's just my mindset. It's always been that way. You know, you can't ever exhale. You got to always be pushing, and that's just my mindset. So, and that will be my mindset until they tell me not to coach anymore.
LaFleur's offense has been hurt by injuries this season. Key cogs like Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft, Christian Watson, Elton Jenkins, Matthew Golden, Zach Tom, and others have missed time or will miss time due to injury. Again, it'll be the Packers and Giants on Sunday. New York announced today that Jameis Winston would get the start for an injured Jackson Dart. Meanwhile, Brewers manager Pat Murphy named NL Manager of the Year for a second straight season yesterday.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
As a proud sponsor of the WIAA, Rural Mutual roots for all of Wisconsin's student athletes. Whether they're a hometown hero or they dream of the national spotlight, sportsmanship keeps Wisconsin strong. Visit ruralmutual.com/WIAA to learn more about how they support high school athletics.
Rural Mutual Insurance, keeping Wisconsin strong.
Well, the Badgers off to a 3-0 start for the second straight season after beating Ball State last night behind 19 points and 10 rebounds from Nolan Winter. And the Bucs are in Charlotte tonight to face the Hornets. With this Wisconsin Sports Zone Network update, I'm Zach Heil, Print.
Well, I think we need to play clean football. I think that's the first and foremost when you look at it. A lot of self-inflicted just mistakes, you know, whether it's false starts. We had a couple of illegal formations. You know, every individual's got a responsibility on every play, and if you're not clean, if one guy's not clean, they can go to crap. So unfortunately, we haven't been clean enough. I think consistently enough as an offense, because we've done some decent things. I mean, I look at some of our ability to move the chains on third down has been pretty good. Unfortunately, we've put ourselves in some tough situations over the last 2 weeks where, you know, we just haven't been able to score points.
So I get back to the drawing board, get back to the film session, trying to find ways to figure out what we're not doing as well right now, what's kind of keeping us in a funk, and it always comes back to get back to it next week and get back to work.
This is where Wisconsin gathers to talk sports. Packers, Brewers, Badgers, Bucks. The Wisco Sports Show is on the air. Now, here's your host, Grant Bills.
Hour number 2, Jesse Temple in a half hour. Can reset the show with some of the things that Matt LaFleur said earlier today. And some of your Packers texts. I got to be better at keeping up on the text line. Rye Guy says, yesterday you said you were just fine with the Jenkins move to center and he played well. Center makes a lot of calls at the line. His inexperience may have been some of the problems at the O-line. His head was down looking between his legs half the time. Bad move. No, I think it was a fine move. My criticism of this is Elton Jenkins didn't do good enough. He was more than capable of being a good center for this team. And I am disappointed with the job he did. I don't blame the Packers for that. So I was fine with the move because I thought, silly me, that veteran Elton Jenkins, who had played center before, would do a better job than he did. And that, to me, is on Elton Jenkins. That's not on the Packers. County Mike says, my take on the experience comment by Matt LaFleur, and I'll play this cut for you again to reiterate. He assumes his players have enough experience. That is a mistake. You know the old saying about the definition of assume. Whether Matt LaFleur is right or not, he is the one who appears wrong. And at the end, he was wrong as evidenced by the player's mistake. See, so this is the comment that we're talking about. This is Matt LaFleur. A follow-up to the cut that you heard in the intro. Ryan Wood asks Matt LaFleur, so isn't it your job to teach these players to be better at not making these mistakes?
Those are things that are taught, right? Don't cover up the tight end, the snap count. Those are messages that you give to the players. Is it just not getting through, or why do you think that you continue to see that?
Well, I think there was two instances, right? And I would put the one, I'm put the first one on myself on when Kennard was in there at tight end, a position he hasn't been, very often. And then the other one is in 2 minute, and that's where we have to have guys that are clearly communicating with one another. I mean, I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
And that's the comment that jumped out to me when I was listening to this earlier. There's a 30-second answer from Matt LaFleur, and the last thing he said to me, this translates to, hey, what do you want me to do? Hold the guy's hand? They've played football. They know better. They should be better.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
That jumped out to me. That to me is Matt LaFleur saying, what do you want me to do? You want me to go catch the ball for Bo Melton? You want me to go out there and line him up to not cover up the tight end? We have enough experience. This shouldn't happen.
I think we have enough experience where that should not happen.
So don't say that I need to teach them better. They know how to play football. They need to execute. That's what I heard there. So that's what Coyote Mike is referencing. Colin in Bass Lake says, I've been noticing a trend of Northwestern travels for you recently. Got to say, big fan of that. I was in Menominee this last weekend, or near Menominee. I was visiting my parents. So that's Northwest. Most places are Northwest from where I live. Unless I'm going to Milwaukee or Green Bay, which I don't do all that often. Most places are Northwest. Viroqua, La Crosse, Eau Claire, Twin Cities. I got a wedding in the Twin Cities in December. So mostly going Northwest. Yeah. I gotta get back into my ice fishing bag this winter. Been neglecting that the last couple of years. And mostly I tell myself, well, I don't have all the stuff. It's too expensive. Well, I got a Vexilar and I got like a box of jigs. That's like 90%. I got a little jig pole. That's like 90% of it. I need to really trim down my outfit to like everything that fits in a small sled. I should be able to do that. So that will take me to Northwest Wisconsin, no doubt. Maybe get up towards Bass Lake. Colin, drop a pin. I'll come join you if you want to fish. 608-321-1670. Your Packers calls. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, Grant. Coach Freed here.
Hey, Coach. How you been? How you doing?
I'm doing well. It's a WEAC Wednesday. We're living well.
It is a WEAC Wednesday.
Brings me to one of my questions. What's going on with Dale Jorgensen? Is he still alive? What's his whereabouts?
Dude, he's alive. Okay, so here's the deal. He believes that if the government workers aren't working, that he shouldn't have to either, which is
fair enough.
Classic, right? I mean, union job. You know how those people are. So
totally understand.
He'll be back at some point. He's a little dramatic too. He'll be back at some point.
Okay. And then that brings you to my second point. I don't know if you saw this news yet. Ethan McIntosh is committed. That's huge for the program, Grant. Pickle's really turning it around right now on the recruiting trail. The dominoes are starting to fall.
Verona's own, him and Isaac Gard, it's a shame that Isaac Gard is going to graduate before Ethan gets there because those two could really raise some hell on campus and break some hearts, I bet.
Hey, everyone's saying Pickles needs to get the in-state guys, and here we are.
Yeah, what do people want? Do they want in-state talent or not? That's a great point. Thank you for that.
Exactly. He's going to carry the W.
Thank you, Coach Freed. Anything else?
That's all I got today, Grant.
That's okay. Appreciate it, Coach. Yeah, what do people want? What do you want? Do you want Fickle to get the in-state kids or not? Well, he got Ethan McIntosh. Landed that one right in town, right next door, right down in Verona. Yanked him in. I was living in Verona for a while. I saw Chris McIntosh. I'm a big morning walker when it doesn't suck outside. I'd see Chris walking every once in a while. I see these people around. I never saw Ethan, though. But hey, can we all put our hands? Great point by Coach Freed. Maybe the most important point that's been raised on the show tonight. Hat tip to Fickle for getting an in-state guy. And the haters said he couldn't do it. And the high school coaches all around the place at places like Stratford and fill in the blank and Adams Friendship. Oh, they never recruit my guys. Well, what are they going to say now? What are they going to say now? Right down the road in Viroqua. Love to see PJ Fleck pull that off. Congrats to the McIntosh family. It's a very proud day. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Hey, it's Darnell.
Hey, Darnell. What's going on?
Well, I wanted to talk Badgers if that's fine.
That's more than fine.
I appreciate Freed turning around away from the Packers here. I've heard enough, I think, the last 2 days. Excellent. I've heard enough.
Well, let's go.
That Badger basketball team,
they've
got they looked like crap yesterday, like actual crap. They played a really, really good first 10 minutes, and then really the rest of the game just kind of coasted and played really bad basketball, lots of turnovers, and they still beat Ball State by 30. You know what I mean?
And
This
scored
could
what?
be a
Did they
really,
hit? Did they hit 90? The 86? What did they
I
score?
think at 86 or 87 or something like that. I mean, this team could be redonkulously good. And I know we're probably like putting the cart before the horse a little bit, but
not at all.
I'm more of a Badger basketball hoops guy. That's my sport. Like I love me some Badger hoops and some Greg Gard, and this might be the best team that he's put together in his tenure.
Ooh. Well, I think the pieces are certainly there. I think the ceiling will probably be decided by Blackwell and Winter, right? Like, what's their high end? Are they true superstars, or are they just really nice players who can have nights that are like star-like? You know what I mean? Because if those two are like Big Ten Player of the Year candidates, like if they're the stuff, then yeah, I agree, because I think the supporting cast is awesome. They brought in the shooting, and Boyd can fly, and Garlock's kind of settled in this unique role of a 7-footer. He can do some of the Crowell things, especially as a passer. I think the ceiling of this team depends on the ceiling of Blackwell and Winter.
I would ask a question then,
please,
if that's your idea of a ceiling for this Badger team, and that is a ceiling. Are we saying Blackwell needs to be like Decker Kaminsky level for them to be that good? Or do you know what I mean? Like, because I would argue that this supporting cast is as good, if not better, than like the 2014 team. Not the 2015 team, that was just insane, but the 2014 team that went to the Final Four.
What? So we're talking about like Brust and Dukin, and Gosser,
Trayvon Jackson.
Yeah. I mean, Boyd might be Jackson-ish, just in the way that he gets downhill. I hadn't really thought about that, and I'm sure some people are like, "Oh, that's ridiculous." I'm just talking about the speed downhill to the rim. That's the first thing that came to mind.
They finally, it feels like they finally have that height again. That we're not across the board. You know what I mean? Like not the one or two guys that are close to 7 foot or at 7 foot, right? They don't have Stephen Crowell and Nolan Winter this year. They have Nolan Winter and that random Lithuanian dude who I don't even know their names yet. I'm excited about it. You know what I mean?
I'm with you. I think your question about the ceiling, Darnell, I appreciate it. And I'll give you some Nolan Winter commentary too here, because I think he was the story last night. You asked, in order to be that level of a team, does Blackwell need to be like Decker Kaminsky level? I think if you want to win the Big Ten or win the Big Ten tournament or go on a Final Four run, yeah. Because they lost to Illinois 2 years ago, who had Terrence Shannon, who was like that guy, who's an NBA player now. The Badgers have had very good collective teams. I think what's been lacking, and Tajay was legit last year, so maybe last year's a bad example, but what's been lacking at times is like, do you have the guy that we're going to be talking about 10 or 15 years from now? And if Blackwell can be that guy, then yeah, I think the ceiling is Final Four, because I love the supporting cast, but a supporting cast is often only as good as what they're supporting. So I have no doubt they can win a bunch of conference games, and they can be in the mix, and they can win conference tournament games, and they can win tournament games. Yeah, but if we're like talking about what you're saying, Darnell, which is the best team Greg Gard has assembled, I think the ceiling is then defined by Blackwell, and to a lesser extent, Winter. Winter's just probably not as flashy of a player. He's not going to create in the way that Blackwell can, although with Boyd, Blackwell's playing more off the ball. That's what defines the ceiling to me. We can talk more Badgers, or you can mix in Packers calls as well. We don't have to stick on one thing. 608-321-1670, Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Well, that was quick. Light hold times. Still catching my breath. How we doing, Grant?
We'll get locked in, Vagabond John. We're whipping through them today. We got to get to Jesse Temple at 5:35.
I disagree with your take just a little bit. And this is peak early season talk. I think John Blackwell defines the floor, but Grant, Nolan Winter defines the ceiling, right? If Nolan Winter develops into an all Big Ten type player, and you have John Blackwell, we know what he has. We know he has all-American potential, right? And I think that's the guy where if this season goes poorly, you're going to say, John Blackwell, what happened, right? Okay. But if this team defies, the media polls, even though they were ranked to start the season, but I would argue they're ranked a little low, if this team does become one of Greg Gard's best, I think the story will be Nolan Winter and these transfers really coming in and elevating. Because I think and shout out Will Garlock. Talk about in-state recruits. Grant, have you watched any of the Badger basketball team yet, or mostly just stats and
No,
highlights?
I watched last night. I didn't watch the Big Ten Plus game. Sorry, but I watched last night. Yeah.
I'm still mostly in stats and highlights, probably until January. But Will Garlock, watching some of his highlights, man, to see a true freshman come in at that size and pass the ball the way he does, that's the exact type of player that you want to come on the floor. He doesn't have to score or hit big shots, but kind of giving flashes of our boy Ethan Happ. And I know I've been an Ethan Happ hater for a decade
And
now.
Crowell.
But Will Garlock,
Crowell. People ripped Crowell. Crowell was an unbelievable passer. And Crowell I wish Crowell would have had 4 years to play with the way they're playing now, because there's actually shooters to kick the ball out to now.
let me be clear. I put Steven Crowell in a much higher tier than Ethan Happ.
Hell yeah.
And that might be controversial.
Yeah. No, I like this.
People are like, give me a play, and there's a reason Ethan Happ never even made a G League team, right? And there's a reason Steven Crowell is playing on this side of the big ocean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that guy can score at multiple levels and pass the ball, right?
Yeah.
Ethan Happ couldn't score from more than an arm's length from the basket. So, anyways, back to Garlock. He doesn't need to score from the basket. If he's coming off the bench and can distribute to these scorers, that's powerful and that's unexpected. That's something new that we didn't really know we were going to get going into the season. So I think those factors, I think the big guys are going to define the ceiling. I think your stars and your returning players are going to define the floor. So that's what's got me fired up today. And also, shout out the Rut. Man, these Bucks are everywhere. Just did my afternoon walk, and I saw 3 Bucks roaming the neighborhood. Hide your kids. Hide your wives. It's Rut season, baby. These here are going after it.
Shout out to the Rut. Thank you for the call. I think we mostly agree. We're framing it and we're wording it a little differently. And we've made it until 5:16 without a Jack Janicki mention. He is dat boy. I love watching that dude hoop. I don't know what it is. That boy is cold. That boy is cold. He was drawing. Jordan Taylor was comparing his lefty underneath finish last night. That was a Michael Jordan move. I'm like, oh, we're drawing Jack Janicki, Michael Jordan comparisons on November 11th. Cold. Oh, what a player. I love that guy. 6 man. But you got to find a 6 man that you love. That's part of the basketball experience. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this? Hello? Line number 1? All right. I'm going to drop you off. Sorry. Call back. You know the number. 608-321-1670. One more call here. We'll take a break. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, hello.
Hello? Is this you, Ryan? Your connection stinks. Let's take a break. Call me back on the other side if your connection gets better. I think that's Ryan in Alaska, but I can't quite tell. Call back when your connection gets a little bit better. Let's get our break in here so we're getting to Jesse on time at 5:35.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Nolan, this game wasn't too dissimilar from the previous output that you had in the past couple of games. I guess how important is consistency with this type of output as you go throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge for me personally. I'm trying to get as many rebounds as I can for this team. On me as a 7-footer, I know that's kind of my job. So having that mentality of every ball is mine when it's shot, that's kind of my thing this year. So it's what I'm going to carry out through the whole season. But yeah, I mean, it's whatever this team needs, honestly, to win. And through 3 games, we've done a pretty good job of winning so far. So just keeping that going.
I like that from Nolan Winter. Every ball is mine. Go get it, kid. Nolan Winter, I love Vagabond John Steak. If he can be an all Big Ten guy, be a rim runner, and an efficient shooter. Efficient. I talk about that with Jesse Temple. You hear that conversation in the next segment. Then this team's ceiling is pretty darn high. Blackwell setting the team's floor, Nolan Winter setting the team's ceiling. That is a framing that intrigues me. I liked that call from Vagabond John. Shout out to the Rut. Shout out. I hung my tree stand. My dad helped me hang my tree stand last Saturday. I'm going to deer hunt, not bow hunting, which makes me kind of a fraud, but good God, I don't have the time. That's such a commitment. And if I shoot a deer, what am I going to do with it? Just keep it in my trunk until I have time to cut it up. Where am I going to cut it up? So no, I will be gun hunting. I'm very excited. Shout out to the Rut. Packers calls, Badgers calls, everything's on the table. 608-321-1670. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Grant, Vagabond John, great call, John. I like the topic. Talk about the Badgers, because Marquette's going to suck this year, by the way. I'm surprised you haven't brought that up. Just got trashed by
I am so mature. It hadn't even crossed my desk. Is Marquette struggling this year? I hadn't even noticed. I haven't paid attention.
Oh, not going to be a good year for Shaka. But, Badgers look good on the basketball side. And I got to get your opinion on this, because I'm your Dallas insider, your Texas insider.
Correct.
This Nico Harrison getting fired, and the fan, basically kind of like if the Packer fans took over and wanted LaFleur fired, or Goody, in this case, the GM. I mean, what do you think about this? Cooper Flagg's mom's commenting on this. The fans basically got Nico Harrison fired. Yeah, terrible trade, but I've never seen a fire Nico chance get a GM fired like they did with the Mavs. It's kind of crazy.
So if they were going to fire him 6 months or however many months it's been since the trade, then I wouldn't have let him make the trade. And I guess the reports are that this trade needed to stay quiet because the fans would have, bitched a fit. Okay, well, then that's something you should have considered before making the trade. So I almost feel like if you're going to let him make the trade and give him the keys, then you need to stick with him 6 or 7 months later. This seems like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and it just goes to organizational, the way that they're run, or just inexperience, or I don't know what you call it, ineptitude, and what we got going on at Green Bay. Because, I mean, I think this thing with Ed Policy and Gutekunst is going to work, and I don't know if LaFleur will be along for the ride. I'm going to stay positive and just let this thing ride out. I think you've really been mature about the way you're handling it. Like, hey, guys are getting hurt. Yeah, they're making mistakes. And they've lost 3 games by 3 points each. So, if anything's going to happen, in my opinion, Luke Butkus will lose his job, because the offensive line, someone might have to pay for that.
Yeah, maybe at some point. Yeah, if there needs to be a head at some point, that's a good comment, Tony. If someone's got to get it, it's not going to be Hafley. It's not going to be Bisaccia. Butkus might be an interesting one, although I think he's good. People really like him, but sometimes a head just needs to be a head. I'm not optimistic or pessimistic. It's not my job every night to have a pep rally for fans. If things suck, I'm going to tell you things suck. It's not my job to come on, guys, see it my way. That's not what I'm doing here. The outlook on the rest of the year is very clear. If they play better and turn it around, they will win their division because they have 5 division games remaining. Okay? Or they'll be right there. They'll be finishing near the top with Detroit, and you'll feel good about them going into the playoffs. If not, they could miss the playoffs, and Matt LaFleur probably won't be retained. So this thing will be cut and dry. Like, the rest of the season will be defined by Matt LaFleur's ability to counteract the adjustments that have been made against his offense, because opposing defenses have figured it out. They know how to defend him. So who are you, Matt LaFleur? We will find out over the next 2 months. And part of that is getting his quarterback to play the way he needs to play and getting his O-line in order. And some of that is out of his control. Like, look, if Jordan Love just plays meh, like, that'll probably get Matt LaFleur fired. That's what got Mike McCarthy fired in Dallas. Dak Prescott not playing good in the biggest moments. That's another thing about, like, a quarterback that's good but not quite good enough, is it's the coach that's going to get it, even if the coach has done everything possible to get that quarterback to succeed. So that's something else that's at play as well. Wisco Sports Show, line number 2. Who's this?
Mark.
Mark. What's up, Mark?
No, it's Corey on the Marshall. How you doing?
Corey and Mark. Okay, sorry, I misheard you. I'm doing good. How about you?
No, it was my bad. Was going to give a big shout out to the Rut as well.
Yeah, shout out to the Rut.
Yeah, because I had my not an opportunity. I had a Big Ten player coming tonight about 4:00. Huge.
Well, what happened?
Bad shooting. Not enough shooting lanes. Never got a shot at him. So
well, get a pull saw, Corey.
Another one of the drawbacks of bow hunting. You got to have enough shooting lanes. So poor performance on my part. Was 15 yards away, standing there broadside.
Oh,
it's always the branch.
Failed to prepare. Failure to prepare to fail. You get a pull saw, cut some lanes.
Well, we did in spring, but the damn things always grow back. That's the problem.
Well, that's part of the fun, though.
Another one of the drawbacks of bow hunting, you got to have enough shooting lanes. So I hope you got enough cut in for your adventure next week, Grant. That's all I really had to add. I don't have anything.
That's okay.
As far as sports, this is outdoor sports. But the Rut's going on, gentlemen. So
shout out to the Rut.
Get out there and give her.
Thank you, Corey and Marshall. That's part of the fun of bow hunting, though. I don't know. I did bow hunt for a couple of years. Part of the fun of bow hunting is like seeing big deer, and then leaving without taking a shot and being excited to go back out again. I would say it's like golf, but I don't know if that's true of golf. Maybe it is. You make one good shot, you're excited to come back. Shout out to the Rut. 608-321-1670. One more call, and then we're going to break to get to Jesse. Wisco Sports Show. Who's this?
Eric on I-90.
Eric, good evening. Now watch for deer out on I-90. They're rutting, I've been told.
Yeah, this deer hunting today, you guys got these phones that you can sit on all day and just wait. And then you're entertained the whole day, quietly entertained. So it's not the same as it used to be. We have to just sit there and think about how miserable our life was for 4 or 5 hours in the cold.
Yeah. Yep.
And then hope that deer comes in and then you shoot, you miss. And then, yeah, it's still a lot of fun, though. Are you going to go deer hunting, Grant?
Yeah, gun season, yeah.
Well, that's a whole different animal there.
First time in, I don't know, 5-6 years probably. I haven't gone in a long time. It'll be fun.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
Thank you. I'm very proud.
Good for you. Yeah. So that was an interesting thing that you just said, and it took me off course. Do you think if LaFleur gets into the playoffs, wins one game, and loses in the divisional round, then do they keep him?
I would bet on yes at that point, depending on how it looks. Yeah, probably. If they win a playoff game, yeah.
Because the only difference between Kevin O'Connell and LaFleur is O'Connell hasn't won a playoff game, but LaFleur hasn't won one that's mattered, you know?
Well, he's been he's won divisional round games. Look, if they win a wild card game and lose a divisional round game, that tells me that Packers management were already pretty much out on LaFleur. They were looking for any reason. You know what I mean? Like, they weren't looking for a reason to keep him. They were looking to get rid of him.
That's right. You're right. And I did want to say something. There was a caller last night right after me, and I'm not trying to make Packer fans like Viking fans. I'm trying to get across to you is that you are playing an opponent, and they're there to beat you And it's just another NFL game. That's all it is. Right? That's it. You don't have to put so much on one game. I think Packer Nation puts too much on one or two games.
Oh, well, we all do. I think all
they
fan
can pull this
bases
together.
do.
I don't. I think that we can come back this week and have a great week.
Yeah.
I do. I think Vikings can come back and have a great week.
Your Vikings just won in Detroit.
Right. We don't know what we're going to get week to week.
Nobody knows.
But you get in there every week and you enjoy it.
Yeah.
You enjoy it.
So
don't ruin this whole thing.
I'm not going to speak to the enjoying. You guys can watch and enjoy however you want. Eric, great call. Thank you. You could be miserable the whole time. If that's, I'm miserable most of the time when I'm watching the Brewers. I enjoy it. So I'm not going to tell you, enjoy the ride, have fun. It's great. I will tell you, week to week, this is one of the more unpredictable NFL seasons I've seen. The bummer about this Packers team is if you don't F that game to the Browns and you either beat the Cowboys or beat the Panthers, this season looks a lot different. Because, yeah, maybe it hasn't always been the prettiest, but instead of being whatever they are, 5-3-1, what if you were 7? Would that be 7-1? No, 7-2. You know what I'm saying? Let's say you have 2 losses. You would be then, crap. You'd be better. Your record would be better. Don't make me do math. Like if your record was a little bit better and you were on the Eagles are 7-2, let's say. So let's say the Packers were 7-2, which wouldn't take much. You make a field goal against the Browns, you make an extra point against the Cowboys. And then you lose a stinker to Carolina and you lose a tough fought match to the Eagles. You're 7-2. It's a midseason hiccup. You're figuring out your O-line. Tucker Kraft got hurt. They have to figure it out. It feels so different, even though the season's really not that different. That's what's so annoying to me, is you effed that game against the Browns, and you lost to the Cowboys. You tied the Cowboys in a game you should have had. I can deal with an ugly loss here or there. I can deal with a hard-fought defensive loss to a team like Philly, but then you also add in the Browns, and you add in the Cowboys. Well, now you're 5-3-1, and you're 7th in the conference and 3rd in your division. That's what's frustrating. So, Eric, I would be able to preach that message a little bit better if their record was 2 wins better, which it should be. But it isn't. So this is the world in which we live. Jesse Temple's going to join us to talk Badgers next. And remember, the Bill Michaels Huddle coming up at 6. So 2 more fine hours of entertainment, including a couple of segments with Mike Clemens and our picks. So we got you covered until 8 tonight. No reason to go anywhere.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bill Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 5 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 4. The Wisco Sports Show will begin in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will begin in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will begin in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will begin in 30 seconds.
Jesse.
Jesse. Hey, Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse. Jesse.
Jesse.
Jesse.
That time of the week, Jesse Temple, Badger Connect, set to join us momentarily. Remember the Bill Michaels huddle? 22 minutes away. Well, 24 minutes. Who's counting? I have a clock in front of me, so it's easy for me to count. We'll connect with Mike Clemens at 6:30, make our picks in hour number 2 here from Matt LaFleur. I actually thought there was a lot of good stuff in Matt LaFleur's presser today. So if you missed that at the very beginning of the show, we'll kind of reset that and pick over some of the more meaningful things that were said, especially as Mike sees it and hears it. He'll give us the highlights of everything that he heard from quarterback to coach and everybody else in the locker room today. But before we get there, still plenty of this show remaining. Jesse Temple joining us now. We talked about the Washington game and what comes next with Indiana. Good God. Coming up this weekend, and then a little Badgers basketball talk as well. Jesse Temple is here. You can find his work, his coverage at Badger Connect. The Written Word, which of course he's been doing for a long time. That's the work that you know Jesse for, but also some great video content and other Badger-related things. And of course, The Camp with Zach as well. Excellent podcast. I was listening earlier today. Since we've talked, Chris McIntosh made a statement and discussed and explained his reasoning and the decision of the athletic department to retain Fickell. And then 2 days later, they go out and get their first Big Ten win or their first ranked win in like 1,400 days. Jesse, have you ever seen a program and a group of men more in need of a win than this one and what played out on Saturday?
I said it was the happiest 3-6 program in America. It'd been a long time coming. They'd lost 6 straight games this season, 10 straight Big Ten games dating to last season, 11 straight games against Power 4 opponents. And obviously the decision by Chris McIntosh was unpopular among fans because there'd been nothing on the field to create any sense of optimism. And as you said, 2 days later, Wisconsin goes out and beats Washington 13-10. So everybody needed it. The players after the game, it looked like there was both relief and joy. And I go back to something left tackle Riley Mahlman told me after the game when I was asking him about what this meant. Usually he's pretty reserved, but he said there was a point where I just wondered, am I ever going to win another game while wearing a Wisconsin Badgers uniform? He said that's just reality. And I think that's what most people wondered about the rest of this season. Obviously, he has NFL aspirations. So a lot of guys needed this performance for sure.
So I don't think a win necessarily kickstarts the program or fixes injuries to quarterback or to O-line or whatever, but I think just an opportunity for these guys to celebrate something together and to take a little bit of a deep breath together. Like, I think that can have a huge impact on the psyche of the team and maybe the way in which they connect with their coach. I don't know. Do you think there's something to be said for that?
Winning helps a lot of things. Now, winning once every couple of months, maybe not, but we know where Wisconsin was. It's really the lowest place Wisconsin has been in decades. And I'm with you, Grant. One win doesn't magically fix all the problems facing Wisconsin football. Oh, by the way, they have to go play the number 2 team in the country on the road, undefeated Indiana, which is going to be the 6th top 25 team Wisconsin has played during the regular season. That's the most in program history. Having said that, I think this is a game that if you are a young player and you're contributing, you can point toward that and say maybe this can be the spark of something greater down the road. And if you're a veteran who's been through all the crud, all the last 4 years of not winning a single ranked matchup, this is one of those games, even if you look back at your career and say it didn't meet what I wanted it to be as a program, this is a game that they'll carry with them forever, really.
So you and Zach talked about Mason Posa and Cooper Catalano, who showed really well against Oregon and got people excited, and then were probably the most instrumental part in that win on Saturday against Washington. And I heard you and Zach field a question from a listener, like, could this duo be as good as, maybe Borland and Mike Taylor, some of the duos that we've seen in the past? Talk about maybe the ceiling and the hopes for that pairing, especially after what we've seen the last couple games.
I pointed out to Zach, and going back and looking at the stats from the 2011 season, that Chris Borland and Mike Taylor combined for 293 tackles, which is absolutely insane. Having said that, I'm not going to sell these guys short, Cooper Catalano and Mason Posa, who have started 2 games in their young career and somehow have combined for 51 tackles. And in their second ever starts, Cooper Catalano has 19 tackles, is named the Big Ten Defensive Player of the Week. Mason Posa has 11 tackles, gets the forced fumble and recovers it to set up Wisconsin's only touchdown, and then gets the sack to close the game out and is the co-Big Ten Freshman of the Week. So I think there's clearly a bright future for those guys. Some people may be wondering, well, what the heck took so long? Hey, they're here now. They're true freshmen, and they're getting a ton of reps, and I know those guys are excited about the future.
Is Gideon Atuka a better fit for the offense they're running, or the offense they have found themselves running because of injuries and limitations, or is he just the last healthy man standing, basically? Because he looks really good, but that could just be because he's healthy and every other running back has gone down.
Well, the last healthy man standing is a good way to put it. Dylan Jones is out for the season. Cade Yakameli has been battling injury. Darian Dupree was hurt and came back for a handful of plays. I think from the very beginning, Jeff Grimes said that he wanted this offense to be predicated on strong offensive line play, being more physical between the tackles, even though they obviously do a lot of things outside the tackles. Well, Gideon Atuka is as physical as they have between the tackles. He runs hard. He gets downhill. He's got surprising burst for a dude who's 220-plus pounds in a 5'9" frame. So he's done a lot of really good things these last 2 games, and certainly will warrant more opportunities, in part because there aren't a whole bunch of guys left, but in part because he's earned it. Now all he has to do is avoid 15-yard penalties, which has happened to him in each of the last 2 games. I know Luke Fickell wasn't thrilled about that.
How do you even begin to make a decision and a game plan at quarterback going into this Indiana game?
Man, this has been, Zach and I were talking about this too, one of the most bizarre seasons for Wisconsin quarterbacks that I can remember. And Wisconsin puts out these weekly packets of information for reporters. And there's a stat in there that this is the first season where 4 Wisconsin quarterbacks have thrown at least 10 passes since 1956. I mean, it's absurd. So what you're down to now, of course, is Carter Smith, the true freshman, Hunter Simmons, the FCS transfer. It feels like a game-to-game situation because when Luke was talking about this on Monday, the Washington game, he said it wasn't like we necessarily named Carter the backup. Carter and Hunter both got backup snaps, but because of maybe what the game plan was with Danny O'Neil, more of a running threat. It made more sense for Carter to be out there. I do wonder, though, what will this look like if you give Carter first-team reps throughout a week? Because we made a lot about the lack of passing ability in that game. He went 3 for 12 for 8 yards. I also think it's fair to wonder how much passing was in a game plan for Carter Smith to go in there when he didn't even get meaningful snaps like he was actually going to play until the bye week a week before. And if Danny O'Neil is starting, then at best, it seems like Carter was going to get package reps, when at worst it was ride Danny and you're not going to play Carter at all. So we'll see. But I'd also say it's not like you can look at Hunter and say he's the answer. The last time he started against Oregon, he was 1 for 12 through 3 quarters. So it's neither player is perfect. Maybe they use both, but it's a big decision Wisconsin has to make.
Did you find, I saw Kurt Cignetti's comments about Luke Fickell, and this is coach speak. You always hype up your opponents before games, but I saw Kurt Cignetti say something along the lines of Luke Fickell's a great coach. He's had his preferred starter like 30% of the time. You know what I mean? So can you speak to the dynamics? Maybe I don't think they have experience in the past, Cignetti and Fickell. Is there anything there? And is there anything between these two coaches that we should consider going into this matchup?
I mean, not in terms of them having a relationship. I think there's just a mutual respect for new coaches who came in, and all the Wisconsin fans are wondering why can't Luke Fickell do what Kurt Cignetti has done at Indiana. Yeah. But he's not wrong. They've been snake bitten by quarterback injuries across the board. Another stat that Wisconsin put out there that I thought was really interesting is projected starters going into the season have missed or entirely or missed significant action because of injuries 44 games so far. And you had a game where you had 3 redshirt freshmen start on the offensive line for the first time in a decade. You've had issues at running back, obviously quarterback. So I believe they're 8-3 when the season opening starter actually starts and finishes a game. It just has happened so rarely. It's hard to know what Wisconsin would be if those guys had been able to start the rest of the season, but without it, Wisconsin's been up a creek, certainly.
I just wonder, I heard those comments. I was like, oh, maybe Kurt Cignetti won't try to score 80 on Wisconsin. You know what I mean?
Top 80 if he can. I mean,
okay. All right. That's all right. Talk more about that, about the psyche of that program and what they're going through in Kurt Cignetti, their angle.
I think they just had a wake-up call. They went on the road to Penn State, and Penn State is still winless in the Big Ten, and it took a highlight reel catch with 36 seconds left for Indiana to escape that, to stay undefeated. So they can look at that and say, we got to get back to the drawing board and be better. But this is just, it's such an uphill battle for Wisconsin. I know they're coming off an emotional win against Washington. Indiana has the #1 scoring offense in the country. They've scored 58 touchdowns this year. Nobody has more than 53 touchdowns. They're 6th in the country in total offense. They're 9th in the country in rushing offense. Their quarterback is tied for the national lead in touchdown passes with 26. Like, they do so many things well. And by the way, their defense is really good. I don't know how Wisconsin's going to score more than 1 or 2 touchdowns. They haven't had more than 14 points since week 2 against Middle Tennessee. So the defense is going to have to be at a level that we haven't seen yet. I'm not saying that's impossible, but you have to be darn near perfect to pull this off. And there's a reason why Indiana is a 30-point favorite.
And hope for bad weather as well. Maybe that could help. That's
that
probably
not going to be the case. It's going to be like in the 60s or 70s somehow. So I'll take it.
It'll be a beautiful day for football, I guess, which is good for everybody except probably the Badgers' chances of maybe staying in it and keeping it close. A couple Badgers basketball things. It's funny, you have a story up at Badger Connect about Nolan Winter. That was my takeaway from last night's game. He's consistently rebounding a little harder. We've seen him have really high-end games in the past, but I think the difference between past years and this year is, alongside John Blackwell, he's going to be expected to consistently produce and be a threat and be a force just about every game. So talk about what you've seen from him and what you wrote about at Badger Connect.
I talked to assistant coach Joe Krabanov and then Greg Steemsma, who helps develop the players. And Krabanov was looking back at last year, and I think that Nolan got overshadowed a bit, understandably so. He finished 4th on the team in scoring. You had Antanje become an All-American. You had John Blackwell become a cornerstone for this offense. But they're looking at the numbers and crunching some of these numbers and going, how many 19 or 20-year-olds are shooting 72% on 2-pointers? His effective field goal percentage, which takes into account 3-pointers, obviously there's an extra point for a 3, but it's the best last year, the best effective field goal percentage by a Wisconsin starter since Tim Locum in 1990-91. So it told you there was tremendous upside. He gained weight this offseason. He's up to 245. He said he finished last year around 225. They spent all offseason working on finishing quicker and with more strength at the rim. And obviously he's got the ability to step out and make some threes. He hit a couple against Ball State. And Here he is 3 games into the season. Yes, overmatched competition, but he's averaging 16 points a game and 9.7 rebounds. So he's a huge part of what this team needs to be.
Well, and just his post-game comments too, like the mentality, right? Of every ball is mine. That's the expectation. That's my job. That's just what I want to hear. And I think Steven Crowell left Badgers fans wanting in that department. And Nolan Winter probably has too. He's a different player, right? He's not this big ox underneath, although he's 7 foot. So those comments jumped out to me. Your impressions of Nick Boyd so far? Just what you've seen, what you've thought.
I think you can see why they went out and got him from the portal. He's so quick. He gets up and down the floor. In that second game of the season, I thought he was going to have 40 points. He cooled down a bit, but he can do so many different things, and that helps everybody because if you can get into the lane, you can create for everybody on the perimeter. You can draw defenders, you can dish, and everybody on the floor basically can shoot 3-pointers. So I think he's been what they've needed, and it's allowed John Blackwell to play more off the ball. And you saw, especially in those first couple games, I mean, they were averaging 23 points a game through the first 2, and they're still performing very well. This is an offense that is averaging like 90 points a game. I know that the competition has not been great, and it's about to get much tougher here in a couple weeks, but this is what we thought Wisconsin's offense could be. We'll see if they can keep it going.
And you have some volleyball content, a Badger Bite and some volleyball stuff at Badger Connect for those who are interested in that.
Yes, our latest Badger Bites, which is a video series we run every Wednesday, features setter Charlie Furbringer. She was a third-team All-American last year as a freshman. We went inside the film room with assistant coach Lauren Carlini, who herself was a 4-time All-American setter at Wisconsin a decade ago, to kind of learn what makes Charlie such a special player. And it's interesting because we filmed this several weeks ago, and I've been holding on to it because soon after we filmed it, she suffered a shoulder injury, and she didn't play for 5 weeks. Well, she came back this past Sunday and helped spark a win against a ranked Indiana team. I think Wisconsin is in really good position as the NCAA tournament approaches, and Charlie Furbinger is a big reason why they can make a deep run.
And I know a lot of people, myself included, love getting into volleyball, and it's that time of year. So we'll look at that and consume your content always, and we love you on the camp with Zach. Appreciate your time, Jesse, as always. Talk next week.
Thanks, Grant. Talk soon.
This is the Wisco Sports Show with Grant Bills on the Wisconsin Sports Zone Radio Network.
The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 3 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 2 minutes. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 1 minute. The Wisco Sports Show will resume in 30 seconds.
Nick, you and John have put up a lot of numbers in the last couple of games, but how important is what Nolan's been doing the first 3 games of the season?
Yeah, I mean, just as consistent rebounding. I think that's what impressed me the most. I know he gonna score, but just how he's attacking the glass right now. I mean, every single game he's having at least 7+ rebounds, so that's really important if we want to win. Come Big Ten play, we're gonna be playing against physical bigs. So just having him in that mindset right now is important, and then having guys like Braden Carrington, Jack Janicki. Guys you really would want to go to war with on your team. So I'm just impressed with his rebounding ability and how he's just doing it with a passion and a work mindset. So it's been fun seeing it.
Nick Boyd. Question for Michael McCleary, Badger Extra, who was on with us last week. That whole interview, by the way, on the YouTube page and in podcast form, but very easy to go find that if you missed it. Nick Boyd talking about Nolan Winter and that mentality. That to me was the story from last night. It's what Mike wrote about. It's what Jesse wrote about. So that's kind of, I think, the takeaway that everyone had after last night's game. I also love the shout out to Jack Janicki. That boy is cold. A Bucks thing before we wrap up this show, and we'll turn it over to Bill, the Bill Michaels Huddle, just a couple minutes away. So Giannis is out tonight, which is, whatever. It's not the end of the world. You just roll your eyes. This is from Eric Name. Bucks coach Doc Rivers on why Giannis is out tonight versus the Hornets. The numbers. I'm reading the quote now. The numbers. What are we? 5 games in 7 days? It's just a lot. And we looked at him before this all started. This was the game if we were going to sit him, just because it was right in the middle and it gives him 4 days off. Now, all these teams do that. So I'm not like, how dare they? It's a little damning, or it's something when the coach is like, yeah, before the road trip even started, we looked at it and said, yeah, this is the game. We're probably going to sit him. Like, oh, okay, great. Panthers fans, Hornets fans down in Charlotte are probably like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, if we knew that a week ago, I would have liked that to be reflected in my ticket prices, but whatever. I just saw that comment from Doc and I'm like, he's being honest. That's how these teams approach it. But it's lame. It's just lame. The big story of the day, I don't know if it's a story, but the comment that's sticking with me about the Packers and Matt LaFleur, he talked about playing cleaner today, talked about making mistakes. His kicking choice, I don't really get it, I'll be honest. Here's his answer when asked, have you settled on a kicker yet, or is that still competitive?
No, we're confident with Brandon.
What gives you that confidence? Because he's last in the league for field goal percentage.
I know. I think
great
some of
follow-up.
the situations were like the other night. That's a tough situation to be in. I would say the day-to-day that we experience and watch and evaluate across the street. So we're going to put more stock into the practice. And then, ultimately you have to go out there and perform on game day.
We're going to put more stock into the practice, but ultimately you need to go out on game day. Yeah, that's the point, Matt. He hasn't been that good in games. In fact, he's been one of the worst kicker in games, actually. And he's been a good kicker for a long time, so he gets the benefit of the doubt. I get it. But the health thing is weird. By the way, wasn't on the injury report today. Completely clean bill of health on the latest Packers injury report. So if he misses kicks on Sunday, I don't want to hear about an adjustment mechanically, or he's figuring some things out physically. Like, no, he's good. So we're going to judge him as if he's good. I don't know. I feel for Matt LaFleur. It's a sticky situation for sure. But if you're the worst kicker in football, and then you're like, yeah, but he's great in practice. Well, at a certain point, I don't really care. Bill Michaels Huddle coming up in 2 minutes. Talk to the